One of my favorite sayings from American business is there's riches in the niches, or the niches as we say in Australia. And for marketers, we've been on a journey for decades now, and that has been from a generalist view down into these very specific areas of expertise. The thinking is you can provide more value and, let's face it, earn more money if you're a specialist in a very ultra niche part of the marketing universe. My question is, what if we've been heading in the wrong direction? Hello and welcome back to the CMO Show. Thanks for joining us. The CMO Show is a podcast produced by Impact Institute in partnership with Adobe. Now today we have a fascinating conversation with one of the pioneers in the customer experience and AI space, and he is from IBM. Now, IBM, of course, has been around for a very, very long time. In fact, in digital speak, probably an eternity, 114 years. And my guest is Billy Seabrook, the Global Chief Design Officer at IBM Consulting. Now, we have a classic wide-ranging conversation, as we like to say, which is just code for lots and lots of topics. But one thing I want to highlight from our conversation is what's going on in the world of how we get stuff done as marketers. We've been on a track into these sort of niche, ultra specialized forms of work. We think we'll earn more money, but we'll also provide more value. Well, his point is we need to think more generalist. How can we have a bigger perspective? And if we start collaborating more widely, it'll create more opportunities for us, of course, and for the organization. It's a great perspective. Dig in and have a listen. Now, I want to start right from the very beginning, which is IBM itself. Mm-hmm. What's it like working for Big Blue?
Well, it's an adventure. There's always a new problem to solve, either for ourselves or with clients. And of course, IBM's been around for 114 years. So we like to think of ourselves as a 114-year startup in the sense that we are constantly reinventing ourselves to stay current.
As I fondly say, the Madonna of IT.
That's right.
Now, IBM Consulting is where your focus lies.
Correct.
And what's so unique about that? Because I'm interested actually from a customer point of view. So what do people think about? What do customers say to you when you begin talking with them about the IBM brand? Because I would have thought that's both a positive and a negative.
It can be. It's like I said, it's a 114-year-old brand, and it has changed quite a bit over the years. So just to give you some context, IBM's almost 3 companies in one. There's a huge research arm that we fund with over $5 billion worth of funding to invent the next new technology. So all of our AI innovation came out of research. Our quantum computing, our hybrid cloud is all run out of research.
Yep.
Now, what comes out of there are new technologies, new products that then can be commercialized in our technology group. That's the second pillar. So that's software and hardware. And that has changed over the years. I can get into that. And then consulting is the third arm, and we're actually the largest consultancy in a technology company in the world. It's a very unique position.
How many people?
We have 160,000 people in consulting.
Wow.
At about 250-ish, for the company worldwide. So within consulting, we work with clients of all different industries on digital transformation, effectively, but applying those technologies to their business challenges. So AI and automation, hybrid cloud transformation, but then for what I do, customer and employee experience design, bringing new products and services to life for our clients so they can drive new growth, take cost out, transform their businesses. You
bring this global perspective to an interesting intersection of a few things, actually, and I wanted to pick up on the fact that you do design, customer experience. You've got this consulting focus, and then the hardware and software that you reference. Clearly, that's a unique focus. What's the primary demand coming out of the client base? What are people asking you for?
A lot of it is, digital transformation work. It's how do we modernize our systems to deliver better customer experience? How can we use technology? That's typically the core. But what often comes up very quickly in the conversation is not just the digital transformation, but the cultural transformation that has to happen within their firm. The human component is actually typically what needs to really be thought through, and handling change management, upskilling, reskilling their operating model. And that's just been, if that's the fire, AI is the gasoline that's just been thrown all over that. So there's so much pressure to take cost out of the system, drive a differentiated value proposition, leverage the technology that they've invested in, get the most out of it, really drive those employee and customer experiences. So what starts as a conversation around improving customer experience, maybe new content, maybe delivering new services, quickly becomes a conversation around employee experience and how you can enable them to basically deliver a better customer experience.
I want to connect on a couple of threads here. One, in the employee experience, which quite rightly you pulled out as critical, right?
Yep.
And by the way, in North America and Australia, burnout, engagement, productivity, these are very, very hot topics, right?
Yes.
You've got to get that right as part of this broader solution. Then the transformation piece. We need people happily, positively engaged in digital technologies, and that we talk about this a lot, but the change management associated with that. What have you seen change the most in the last, say, 5-10 years? Because you've worked across, some pretty interesting companies in your time, eBay and Citi and others. So
that's right.
What would you say has been the biggest shift that you've noticed?
I think AI, you can't ignore AI. I think, and the implication of AI in terms of augmenting, human work, in terms of thinking about your human workforce as well as your digital workforce. I think that's been the biggest shift, and how to get the most out of these technologies with all the risks that are at play with them. In the marketing, obviously a big goal for decades has been personalized content at scale. That has been the aim for most marketers is to actually deliver it, but it's always been practically impossible because of the cost and time involved to generate that stuff. With AI, it actually is possible now. You can square that equation of faster, better, and cheaper and deliver that personalized content at scale really quickly. Now the challenge is people see, okay, what's possible. They know why they should adopt AI, what they could use it for in most cases, like the use cases. But now it's the how. It's how do you actually do the change management, reskill, upskill, get the right tools in the hands of the workers, the proper enablement. But then it's all the more tricky stuff, which is making sure you've got the right compliance and governance in place. You've got your cost management under control. You can trust the output of the AI. And we've leaned into it at IBM. We've leaned into it quite heavily in terms of adopting our own technologies so that we're not just consulting with no real lessons learned or experience. We have actually taken all of our own technology and applied it to ourselves to actually solve the same problems that our clients are asking us about. And we've recognized in 2 years, by applying AI and automation to a lot of our back office processes, we've unlocked $3.5 billion in productivity savings in just 2 years. And that savings has fueled our growth engine. So we've been able to acquire companies, hire more people, a whole variety of things. We've taken that investment, we put it into research, as well, to continue to sort of invent the next technologies. And that has ultimately driven a productive company as a whole, but more profitable company. So now our stock price is finally, seeing a boost, and we're growing. We grew 5% last year, which is a great turnaround.
That's counter-cyclical.
Thanks to applying AI to our service, like our back office processes.
Can you give me some other examples of how that's flowing through? Because I think we're obviously familiar with a lot of those trends.
Absolutely. So we call it client zero. So again, we're operating on ourselves before I operate on clients. Yep. That's kind of the vision, and to unlock that growth. So we methodically went through our domains. So HR was our first to look at sort of what could we do to automate and add AI to make HR more efficient. We created these conversational agents where our employees can actually manage all these tasks through a chatbot. Effectively, we call it Ask HR. It's a 24/7 HR representative at your fingertips. But it's reduced our cost by 40%. So we've been able to streamline the HR team dramatically. So now we have a much thinner, smaller team, but more senior. So these are senior HR representatives that handle the complex tasks, the extra 6%.
Can I go to Australia on a business trip and take some time off, for example?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, yeah. And the next one that is live, we have Ask IBM, which is sort of the full agentic experience where we have Ask HR, Ask IT, Ask Finance, Ask Procurement, all these individual use case specific bots.
Yeah.
We now have Ask IBM aggregates all of them. Okay. So you can do much more complex tasks. Like I'm going to take a business trip to somewhere to hire this new person or recruit and hire this new person and enable them with a new laptop and then put them on a trip to visit the client.
So tell me then about the role of creativity and design in this consulting space, because I think in marketing it kind of comes on and off again in terms of hotness, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're data driven and other times we're leaning back into traditional creative. In fact, I was talking to some creatives last week about the very simple power of a great TVC. Sure. Right? These ideas never go away.
Yeah, brands still need storytelling. And that's where creatives can really play a big role. I do think, with these new tools, I mean, obviously there's people on both sides of the fence. Some feel a little bit distressed by all these AI and the fear. There's some truth to that, and there's something you should lean into to really get used to these tools, understand, don't get left behind. I think there's something there. There's also a huge crowd of optimists thinking about, wow, I can do so much more now with these tools. I can be more of a generalist. I think when you look back, in the creative field, call it 30 years ago, it was, especially in the web world, digital world, there were really like two types of players. There was a web designer and a web master, if you remember these terms.
I do.
And then over the years, it really fractured out into all these specialist roles. Now there are like 20 to 30 different specialist roles within the world of digital creative. Yes. And I feel like AI is bringing that convergence back a bit. You're seeing more generalists, and you're able to do a lot more that previously wasn't possible.
What are some of the projects that you've worked on that would best typify that?
We did a campaign for the Masters where we sponsor the Masters, for over 30 years.
That's golf for people.
Golf, yep. Big golf tournament. And we used Firefly. It was actually right after Firefly launched, Adobe Firefly, generative art capability. It was right after it launched, and we got special permission from Adobe. So our CMO talked to their CMO and to actually use it for the Masters digital performance media campaign, social media campaign. It was a great use case. It was a question mark that was the primary creative vehicle, but it was textured in all golf-related materials. So a question mark made out of tees, question mark made out of golf balls, sand,
gloves, etc.
And it was the question was what if, is question mark. But we're using Firefly. We generated hundreds, if not thousands, of these question marks in different textures that would have taken a digital artist weeks to render out. We did it in days. Launched the campaign, and it was the highest performing social media campaign of all time. And we saved time and money. I mean, we did it 80% faster for less money, much more variation in the creative, and it performed 26 times engagement scores.
You were talking about Ask IBM before, so the chat is employee interface. Now we've got chat. Marketing becomes chat, right? Or the prompt based. So there's an interesting thing emerging here, which is that our tasks and our functions, how we get stuff done, is becoming an AI chat style interface and multimodal.
It's completely changing user experience. I mean, as consumers, you're experiencing yourself. How often do you go onto Google now, and in the search term, you're asking a question or getting a recommendation or asking for a task to be done, and it's just that Gemini summary has kind of solved. Very few people are clicking through deeper and actually searching and browsing. That behavior is completely changing to
you just want the answer.
We're calling demanding and commanding.
Yes.
So what the implication there is for all the marketers is how do you rethink your approach to SEO and content generation so that it serves up to the AI models.
Yes, correct.
And it gets indexed properly.
To jump in, I wanted to go there because in this world of design, creativity, transformation, ultimately the clients or the customers that we're serving are these AI engines. Because a lot of the futurists are now saying that the web as we know it is going away. Yeah. It'll just become an abstraction or if you like, a way of interfacing with data that's held
right.
in all of these distributed databases around the world. And so actually our prompt, our new, if you like, Google interface becomes, your AI of choice, right?
That's right.
So what's your take on how we deal with that? Because it actually throws a lot of things into question.
It really does. Well, it is starting with the data and rethinking, moving to a GEO versus an SEO, so generated engine optimization mindset. So that's number one.
Yep.
But then from an interface standpoint, from a design standpoint,
yep.
How do you differentiate? I mean, when you think about these chat interfaces, they're quite simplistic.
Of course.
How do you differentiate your approach and also have a logical design pattern for the type of assistant you're interacting with, the expected output, whether it's summarization or whatever the task is that you want that AI to do,
yep.
and then the context of how it shows up on the interface.
Yes.
Is it because there are multiple ways when you really start to think about it? You can have AI appear as sort of an A placement on a website. You can have it be kind of a omnipresent banner down the side. It could be just that classic chat icon in the corner. There are all these different little pop-ups and modals. Yep. There are all these, when you really start to break it down from a design system standpoint,
yes.
you can actually, there's a lot to be done. A lot of brands could benefit from having a very intentional approach to how their AI shows up. And obviously you want to, train your own AI to interface, that knows your brand, knows the right things to say, is well governed, to almost interface with the other AI. So it's going to be like marketing to the machine is the expression I use. It's just, And then you're going to be almost taking a step back and seeing how the interactions unfold. And you're going to be playing more of a governance role to make sure you're catching the outliers or the experiences that go awry.
A lot of marketers, CMOs, think about their marketing team as their primary tribe within a large organization.
Yeah.
Right? And it can be just a small group of people, or it can be in many cases quite large. The sort of future you're speaking about here is where a marketing team has no choice but to collaborate more deeply with product development, with sales, the customer experiences or customer service, and on, right? So in order to have the sort of dynamic landscape you're speaking about, it really changes how we think about the teams in which we work. What's your take on what that's going to look like in the future?
I think that's right. And I think we've been on that trend for a while now
in
terms of forming these relationships across the C-suite and marketing and, CMOs and CFOs and CIOs really finding new forms of collaboration because you have to. It's all intertwined right now. Using methodologies that bring people together is becoming more and more important. So in the past, it sounds like an old methodology, a little bit past its prime, but design thinking is still an incredibly important method to apply to in the age of AI in terms of bringing diverse stakeholders together to think, to identify a problem, collaboratively design for a solution through that human-centered lens. I think that's still an important method to be used in the age of AI and bring these stakeholders together. And then also, because what's also happening simultaneously is with these new tools, people's roles are expanding. This generalist concept is coming back across design, across strategists, marketers, everybody, and it's creating this world of democratized marketing, democratized content creation.
It'll be interesting to see how the distributed power and the distributed decision-making takes place under that model.
Yeah.
Going back to your design thinking comment, and by the way, I haven't heard that phrase for quite some time. So
I know.
Thank you for bringing it back into my consciousness. I wonder, when we think about the future of marketing transformation and this customer experience journey, I wonder whether designing for humans, ironically, becomes the focus. Because the issue we're facing from a governance and an ethics and a speed of change point of view is that with tech, with AI rather, we've got to keep reminding it of the humans.
Yeah, well, we just did we have a research arm within IBM, a think tank called the IBV, stands for IBM Institute of Business Value. Okay, and we do a lot of research across all different topics, just every year.
Of course.
Yeah. And we just released a study called the CMO study. And we interviewed 1,200, 1,500 marketers and CMOs around sort of, what the trends that they're seeing and what are the challenges they have and sort of where the future's going.
Yep.
And one of the 5 big insights or trends that we highlight in the report is this notion around designing for the human, but also when it comes to like your workforce, hiring for heart is the expression we use. Hire for heart, train for AI. So what that's getting into is this notion that for companies to be successful, you do need the curious, creative, empathetic, ethics-oriented people, to really design and deploy AI responsibly, and you really have to hire. That's the innate human ability, is to have a heart, right? So hire for those types of people, the people that you want to be in the boat with, and then you can train them on the AI. AI is always going to evolve and change, and you can teach them the tools and enable them properly. But the thing that is the most important is make sure that your workforce has those ethics to almost keep a little bit of again, that human in the loop control over and intent around how you're using AI properly.
Are you suggesting that the most successful marketers in the future will be with those with the kindest hearts, as it were?
Well, yeah, that's the provocative thought. Yeah, it's the ones that care, that really do think about the impact of what they're putting out there in the world, all the different stakeholders and how that impacts them. Having that, we did a different study actually 2 years ago. It was more focused on the designers, experience design, and it was asking that crowd. Basically what the impact of AI is going to have on the profession of experience design, et cetera. And we asked them to rank the most important skills that you're going to need, hard skills and soft skills. And no surprise, the skills that popped to the top were, speed and decision making, creativity, using AI, effectively. Those were the things that popped. The 2 things that were the least, thought of to be the least important, were resilience, and I'll get to that in a second, and ethics and empathy. They thought we don't really need designers to have ethics and empathy. It was such a blind spot in the report. We were like, whoa, that how could people think that it's all just about how fast and hard you can work to get this AI model, and none of the human-centeredness was popping. So this is interesting to see in the CMO study that almost like that has changed. Like now people are recognizing, oh no, this is actually really important. You need to have an ethics council. You need to think about investing in proper training and make sure people have that sensitivity when they're rolling out these campaigns or these new experiences, that they're thinking about all the consequences that could happen, positive or negative.
Yeah, to take a broader view, it's interesting to see how this wider transformation story is becoming a story about sustainable workplaces.
Well, that was the resilience thing. Thanks for it's if the promise is that you're working harder and faster, you're quick decision maker, and that theoretically you're getting your job done faster so you can take on another assignment sooner.
And go home on time.
And you can start to see a future of burnout, where it's just people are working at such a fast rhythm of constant output. Is it just going to burn out? And that's why the resiliency ranking low, I thought, was kind of interesting. Another blind spot, because actually, if it keeps going at this pace, there's a risk of burnout.
Billy Seabrook, a fascinating conversation and an incredible window into your world of all these different interconnecting bits and pieces. Thank you so much for being my guest on the CMO Show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
One more thing I really am fascinated by is what's happening to the future of the web, which of course is the content engine that feeds AI. It's changing everything, and it means that we won't be using the web in the same way, and we're going to be maybe using AI itself in different ways in times to come. I wonder what you took out of the episode. I hope you've taken some really great lessons on that topic and many more. Thanks for joining us on the CMO Show. As always, click a like on your podcast platform of choice. Check us out on LinkedIn and let us know if you've got any suggestions. Who should we talk to? That's it for this episode. We'll see you next time. The CMO Show is produced by Impact Institute in partnership with Adobe. Impact Institute is a professional services firm for purpose-led organisations. Our unique blend of impact consulting, brand storytelling and event services help our clients create meaningful change. This episode of the CMO Show was brought to you by your host, Mark Jones, that's me, and producers Kate Zadell and Kirsten Babels. Our audio engineers are Ed Chang and Daniel Ma. And a quick shout out to Adobe Experience Cloud, which gives digital businesses everything they need to design and deliver great customer experiences. Visit business.adobe.com to learn how Adobe can help transform your business.